Support for this episode comes from Modern Football Technology. Modern Football Technology provides real-time opponent tendencies and self-scout while eliminating manual data entry into Huddle, DV Sport, and Exos. If you're tired of tools that are time-consuming to learn and perform inconsistently at best, then we recommend Modern Football for a fresh perspective. Schedule a demo today at teammofo.com to see a battle-tested tool that's proven to perform and deliver value. Mention Coach and Coordinator Podcast or use the coupon code CC10 to receive 10% off your first year. And listen to our recent episode featuring Folsom High School defensive coordinator Jordan Ersick to learn more about how the 2023 California State Champion uses modern football to dominate their opponents.
So one thing I hated when I was a head coach was I hated, like, you're getting a practice plan together and you got an open period and you ask one of the coaches, hey, what do you want to do here? And they're haphazardly, stance and starts or footwork. You get a lot of that stuff, just kind of fill-ins. I hate that.
I say it all the time on this podcast. Coaching is not a copy and paste function. It requires an understanding of what your players need for a particular week and a particular game plan, so that they are prepared for the plays you run, the looks the opponent gives, and the situations which you will face. Today, Matt Drinkall, co-offensive coordinator and offensive line coach from Army West Point, Kyle Segler, offensive line coach at Louisiana-Monroe, and Brendan Walsh, offensive line coach at Colgate, share valuable ideas for focusing your individual time and practice periods on the aspects of your scheme and technique that specifically will be used in the next game. These three coaches share their approach to drills and practice periods to create the most effective way of preparing their players. While the focus is on offense and particularly offensive line, the ideas shared apply across any position. In this short episode, we look at everything from a process for drill selection to a focus on details and creating an effective walkthrough. What you see on tape is a direct reflection of what you teach and how you teach. Video is important, but if you don't teach well, you're not going to like what you see on your video. First Down Playbook has been helping coaches teach better for 13 years. It allows you to present installs, playbooks, and practice cards in half the time with NFL quality. Coaching tools like video pairing, a player app, practice schedules, and wristband sheets have made First Down Playbook a program management system with everything in one place. If you're in a position of leadership with your football program, receive a free 1-week look at First Down Playbook. Call them at 512-814-6158 or visit them on their website or social media. Mention Coach and Coordinator Podcast or use the coupon code COACH24 to receive a $100 discount off the normal $700 First Down Playbook team membership price. Links and the phone number are in the show notes. First up is Matt Drinkall, co-offensive coordinator and offensive line coach at Army West Point. He shares something he developed as a head coach and now continues to use in his role as co-OC. This is a comprehensive approach which guarantees that they are working on the right things each week and allocating practice time properly.
So I do this thing that I think is awesome. I don't really know anyone else that's really specifically doing this exact thing, but to me, it helped us a bunch. So I make a drill bank. So a drill bank starts out by, it's basically this huge Excel sheet, and it's broken into two categories to create like an XY axis. So the first one would be a play family. So it would be like, hey, this can occur before the ball snapped. This is run game. This is pass game. Inside of the run game, it might be, hey, this is your wide zone techniques, your tight zone techniques, your gap scheme, whatever, reads for the quarterbacks, whatever it might be. And then what it is you base it based on frequency or like the skill set within that matrix that a player has to work. So one thing I hated when I was a head coach was I hated, like, you're getting a practice plan together and you got an open period and you ask one of the coaches, hey, what do you want to do here? And they're haphazardly, stance and starts or footwork. You get a lot of that stuff, just kind of fill-ins. I hate that. what I do at the beginning of the week is we print this drill bank out. And then as I would go through, or meaning I as in the coordinator, you go through really some of the, you build the fundamentals of your game plan. You really think, okay, we're going to major in these things. We're going to be in these formations. We're going to be running these plays. So then what that does is then that tells you throughout the rest of the week, like, okay, these are the things we're going to carry. This is really what we need to be doing. So for example, like if you're a quarterback, pre-snap, like for that week, he's going to have to work cadence, tempos, motions, shifts, movements, whatever that may be. Okay. So you have to build that in depending on, and that should take up a percentage of your individual time that's going to correlate with the percentages you're going to call it in a game. Okay. So then for run game, for example, the quarterback, for example, he's going to have to mesh your basic runs. If you're going to run quarterback run game, like gap scheme, like, well, if he's running a bunch of dart that week or power that week, getting him in those types of drills that are going to give him a refresher, especially if it's been a week or two of doing those. If he's throwing RPOs that week, making sure he's throwing, whether it's whip screens or operating different elements of an RPO. If you're going to have fly sweep game, fly sweep reads, whatever that is, and then the specific types of quick game or RPO that you build in, he's got to make sure that he's throwing those things. So for example, if you're not throwing quick game RPOs that week, well, then you can get rid of those, and it allows you to reallocate that time as a resource into different drills and fundamentals. So at the end of a week, when the game gets there, you know, okay, well, we're planning on running it 65 to 70% of our time. Well, 65 to 70% of our time in practice this week was dedicated into the skills that these players at those positions are going to be doing that skill set throughout the game, if that makes sense. So that allows me to, and like I said, it's awesome because at the beginning of the week, if I sit there and go, hey, we're not doing much of this for this position group, you can cross that out and it tells you through, like, you can deduce where you need to spend your time. And then I know it helps you too, like, hey, okay, guys, it's Thursday and we haven't worked these two, the tight ends, you haven't worked arc blocks or insert blocks or whatever it is, most dangerous man sorting out or whatever that might be. It tells you what you need to be doing for your individual work as long as you front load the concepts that you need to put in there. And that's been really helpful to me. It's really helpful if you have coaches that are either really young or coming from outside of the building or caught up in whatever. It helps you a ton because you can plug that in. You have a ton of carryover and can get going from there.
As coaches, we know that some of the biggest hurdles to our team's success can come from off the field. Your team needs support to tackle the endless list of expenses, uniforms, training equipment, travel, and more. But raising that money can feel like a full-time job. Thankfully, there's Vertical Raise. Vertical Raise is the premier online fundraising platform using innovative technology to create the easiest and most efficient system available. Raise more money in less time with a local fundraising coach who works with your team every step of the way to customize the ideal fundraiser. With options for online donations, digital discount cards, premium product sales, and even spirit shops, Vertical Raise has top-of-the-line solutions for every fundraising style. To find out more, visit verticalraise.com and we'll get you connected with an exclusive offer on your first fundraiser. Next up is Kyle Segler, offensive line coach at Louisiana-Monroe. He notes that what he does is not original, but it works very well in their preparation to get a mental focus on what his offensive line needs to prepare for each week.
As we all are in this profession, I didn't invent any of this, and anyone who claims to have invented any of this, other than, I know I mentioned Coach McNally and some of these other guys, they actually did. But, Coach J.B. Grimes, longtime college offensive line coach, his son and I are really, really close, went to high school together, played college together. And his dad has been a huge influence on me. On his last years at Auburn there, they led the nation in rushing in the SEC West. So to me, if I'm going to follow somebody, I want to go follow the guy that's running the show. And to me, it's a multiple thing as far as what drills within practice, but pre-practice every day. We have what Coach called, and we call it here too, we call it our little things period. We get those guys out there about 10 minutes before stretch. We line up our helmets on the sideline. They're in just their shoulder pads, and we go through all of our fundamental basic footwork steps in all of our run game during that period. And nobody else is really out there at practice yet. We're the first guys on the field. It's kind of a philosophic thing. We're the hardest working group on the team. I'm sure you've seen it, through all my stuff on social media, just kind of what we're about. We talk about we want to be the gold standard. We want to be the bar to which all the other position groups in this program are measured. And so to do that, you got to do more than is expected of you. And I think, coming out there and doing those little things, at first, it's kind of like, man, this is kind of silly. Like, we're out here, like doing this stuff all lined up and kind of going through this stuff. But especially the position offensive line, there's so much muscle memory required. There's so much repetitive nature of the position, so if you don't practice that and you don't emphasize that, and when we get into the season, we just start talking about scheme. We just talk about what we're going to see on Saturdays, third down pressures, short yardage goal line, whatever it may be. You get inundated with information. And at the end of the day, the information is only going to be executed at the scale of the technique, So for me, that's the biggest thing that's an everyday thing, and I think that's something that, early on, it's great because, we've been doing it all summer. Those guys have been doing that before our OTA stuff they do on their own. They've been doing it. So there's already an immediate connection. They know it. They know the expectation. And I think that's something that's been really good for us as far as kind of just every single day. You've got 10 minutes to not grind them. We're not beating each other to death. It's light from a workload standpoint, but just continuing to harp on the details of the job. And I'm just kind of one of those motivational or football, coaching isms, I have on the board in our meeting room. Details make up the big picture. The big picture is we want to be the best offensive line in the Sun Belt. We want to have an opportunity to take our team to win a conference championship, playing in a bowl game. Well, that's going to live or die with us. For me, every single day of emphasizing the most important vital elements of our position, which is our footwork from the ground up. Every single day, I think that's something that's not taxing. And again, week 16, that drill will be just as influential as it is the first day of fall camp. Continuing to emphasize that and the importance of that and the details of how important that is to the success of our group is paramount.
We finished with Brendan Walsh, offensive line coach at Colgate. Coach Walsh explains a detailed approach to utilizing a daily walkthrough, which helps create a laser-like focus on the specifics of what his linemen need to focus on, especially with their eyes. The understanding created here helps them best translate their practice work to game day.
I think walkthroughs are extremely important. When I'm doing a walkthrough with the guys, even during the camp walkthroughs themselves, I put a ton of emphasis on it. I try to get as much of it filmed as I can, even if I'm the one who has to kind of take some of the film. And if it's not getting filmed, I'm usually standing on the defensive side, and all I want to see is their eyes. So early in the season, I want to make sure that there are no gaps in anything that we have schematically. I should be able to see them step the proper direction. And most of the time, the way our helmet is designed, we have a stripe, so you can kind of see if they're looking the right way. But I really want to key their eyes and see how laser focused they are when they take that step. Are they looking at that next knee? Are they looking at the right key for them? Or are they just kind of looking in the area? Hey, right guard, what are you looking at? I'm looking at my gap. No, you need to key this specific thing. This is what we want you to see. And I can tell the difference between a kid that's laser focused and a kid that's just kind of trying to get through it. I tell our guys that, because there's enough time during camp now with the NCAA rules that the pads have been taken off of these guys. And so getting as much mental work in as possible is huge. So for me, that's my number one biggest. I would say the next thing is as many kind of combo periods with another position group and a defensive, position. Obviously, it's not like board drills, but like, your combination periods where you have 2 O linemen versus a D lineman and a linebacker, or 2 D linemen, or whatever it is. Those periods give us a lot of work over a short period of time, and we can be very specific in the situations when I work with the D-line coach on what we're looking for.
It's easy to fall back on everyday drills and a practice template that doesn't vary. There's nothing wrong with relying on a foundation and routine. As these coaches point out, though, it is all about the detail and planning and the focus, which makes the big difference. Like Coach Segler said, details make up the big picture. Have a great week and good luck this weekend. Remember, all of our season episodes are cataloged on coachingcoordinator.com, and go there to sign up for our weekly tip sheet, which gives you a weekly rundown of the ideas shared on the podcast. Check the show notes for related episodes and resources from Coach Drinkall, Coach Segler, and Coach Walsh.